As we watch those pictures, I'm going to bring in Sophie Rauszer, who's a campaigner for left-winger Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Very good evening to you. Also with us is Rauszer Diallo, who's a civil rights campaigner. We'll talk to you first, Sophie, because I know you've got to be at other events this evening. Just react to what we've just heard from Emmanuel Macron there. I was just saying it's still a little bit light on policy.
Of course, I mean, it's not even clear what his program was. I mean, he's saying white and black at the same time, whereas we have started a campaign more than a year ago with really a program and a grassroots movement. And this is the very reason why Jean-Luc Mélenchon announced a bit earlier during this night that we will ask people's opinion, we will consult our members on what to do on the second turn. Surely we will never back any xenophobic candidates, but on the general line, what we can see in this election that is completely new is that the old world is dying and a new era is coming. So we had, free... And
do you consider Emmanuel Macron part of that dying political class? Is he more of the same in your eyes?
He's kind of part of the establishment, for sure. I mean, he's, you know his past, you said it earlier. He's a former banker from Rothschild Bank, and he's, backed by a lot of mainstream media. He went abroad to seek for financial support, which is absolutely the country of what we've done, really trying to make a grassroots movement, something that, links, reminds more in some ways, even if it's a more of a French cultural identity, kind of sounds more like Bernie Sanders tried to do in the US, for example.
It's a fascinating character, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, because he is an admirer of Hugo Chavez. He's got the support of the Communist Party. You roll your eyes, but he does like Chavez. He's got the support of the Communist Party. He wants a 95% tax rate for those who are earning over and above 400,000 euros. And yet millions of people have come out to vote for him. So there's a lot of people in France who believe in this. What can you do next if he doesn't get through to the next round? What is the next step for him? Can you, like Macron, bring people into the parliament who believe those sort of things?
Yes, of course. I mean, the legislative elections are big, the next upcoming challenge for us, and we will bring a lot of new MPs, a lot of new also youngsters that were involved in this campaign, youngsters, women, young women also to that campaign. That was a major achievement of our campaign. But to go back on what you were saying, like Chavez, did what he did in the Latin American world, which is very different. The level of poverty is very different to what we are having here, even if here the situation is, considerably challenging as well, with 9 million poor people and so on. But it's not a model. Okay. It's not our society. We don't have any. We only have the one of the French history and the French Republican values.
Okay, stay with us a few minutes if you can. I know you're pressed for time, but I want to just cross to James Reynolds, who's at the Macron headquarters. And James, you were just listening to Emmanuel Macron. What did they make of it there?
They cheered along, but I think from their point of view, it wasn't a particularly jubilant speech. It was a statesman-like speech, and I think that gives you an indication of who he was speaking to. He wasn't necessarily directing himself to the people here in the room. He's already got their votes. He's already won their votes. He's already thinking of that second round and of making sure he ties up the other votes from the Socialist Party and also from François Fillon as well. So this was very much, I think, the speech of someone looking beyond his supporters.
And James, we were just talking here among our guests here that there's a lot of hope and optimism expressed by Mr. Macron, but a lot of our guests tonight saying that they still need to see a manifesto, they still need to see policies. What is it that he's actually going to do to change France?
I've asked that same question to a lot of supporters here. I said, look, it's built on a lot of promises of being pro-EU, of being pro-business, but of also being pro-social welfare. At what point will this be crystallized? And they say, look, he will go round and get as many votes as he can from as many other people. I think that will really be the central question that will be out of him and his supporters in the next couple of weeks. It's all very well having promises which you've converted into a number of votes in the first round. but what about real specifics that will be a governing programme? And bear in mind, because he's now the strong favourite, he might have one eye on the parliamentary elections in June, because there's no point being elected president if you don't also have a parliament willing to carry out your wishes. That would be an election not worth winning.
OK, James, for the moment, thank you very much. If you're just joining us, let me just remind you of the first partial results that were released by the French Interior Ministry. 28 million votes have been counted so far, which show Marine Le Pen on 23.6%, Emmanuel Macron on 22.78%, François Fillon, the former Prime Minister there, trailing in third on 19.69%, and Jean-Luc Mélenchon on 18.43%. Good result for him, though, nonetheless. We must point out this result does not include votes from the big cities, where the polls close 1 hour later than the rest of the country. So the final result may be slightly different. And Sophie, before I let you go, you are not giving in yet. And Jean-Luc Mélenchon is saying, let's wait until we get the final result.
Yes, I think especially, you know, considering the amount of voters in the big cities and the voters that are more inclined to vote for Jean-Luc Mélenchon. I mean, we can still hope to be number 3 or even still in the second turn, who knows. But to go on, you know, to the previous debate we had, you know, for us, you know, Macron, the danger is also that he's kind of the heir to François Hollande's legislature. You know, he's kind of the candidate of the extreme austerity. I know we've been accused of being radical, far left and so on. I don't consider myself as a radical. I just consider myself as a true socialist in a way.
OK, Sophie, it's been lovely to have your company. Thank you for going.
Thank you so
We'll let
much.
you go to the Mélenchon camp and see what happens with the rest of that count. Let's just take a look at the projection results, incidentally, that have been compiled by Cantar Public, the pollsters who've been with us this evening. It puts the centrist Emmanuel Macron on 23.8%. So you can see there's a slight reversal in the results here from the projections. And the far right, Marine Le Pen, on 21.7%. François Fillon, the Republican candidate, is on 19.8%. And Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the far left candidate, on 19.2%. The real sorry story of the evening, I have to say, is Benoît Hamon of the Socialist Party. Look at that, down there at barely 7%, 6.5%. The same party, remember, as the serving president, François Hollande, who was not able to stand, the most unpopular president of the Fifth Republic by some margin. With these projections, we can assume that Mr. Macron and Le Pen will be fighting in the second